Hey comrades, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with a really cool and historical range report on a gun I've never shot. This is a Soviet-era Romanian Tokarev. Very excited to shoot this thing and also try out the Screamin' cartridges, 7.62 by 25. Everyone says these things hit pretty darn hard. This gun is on loan to the channel from Comrade Jack, who has been so kind to lend me many of his guns from his collection. I'll talk more about the history of this gun in particular and the Tokarevs in general when I get to the garage portion of the video. But I'm here today to put some rounds down range and let you guys know what I think. I gotta say, my initial thoughts on this gun from simply handling it is that it seems to be very, very well built. It's almost as though John Browning defected to the Soviet Union and designed a really cool gun. Well, maybe a little bit cheaper gun. But let's see how this thing shoots. Well, I'm just going to say that thing hits pretty darn hard. I was kind of expecting the recoil impulse of a 9mm. That thing hits like a 45. It's definitely a big thud. I'm really impressed with that. It's a pretty sweet shooting gun. Well, I know the Soviets did make very fine firearms, so I'm going to load this thing back up, put some more rounds down range, and I'll give you more of my thoughts. All right, so this is going to be my second magazine. My first group was a little bit low, but the windage was right on. So I'm really impressed though with how this feels in my hand. I've always liked all steel framed firearms. There's just something about them. They really feel like weapons versus some of the more polymer Wonder 9s that we have today. Nothing wrong with those. I know that they're modern, it's the latest and greatest technology, but there's something about getting back to the roots of a quality firearm, an all metal, all steel firearm. In this particular example, I believe it's from 1953, and I gotta say, it is in outstanding shape for its age. That's also really cool. I'm literally shooting a piece of history here. Well, when it comes to capacity, I think you only get about 8 rounds in this thing. I'm still shooting it a little bit low, but the grouping is really good. Some of that might have to do with these antiquated sights. I will say, while the firearm, the technology that goes into it is pretty nice, the sights are old school World War II style. They're very, very small, something that I would have to get used to. But for a little surplus gun, and for the cost of these things, I'm quite impressed. Well, I'm gonna load up another magazine and give my wife Becky a shot and see how she does. All right, so I'm going to load up a couple more magazines here and use up the last of the ammo that Jack was so nice to donate for this range review. I got to say that after shooting it a couple times, the controls are a little bit small, but of course this is a 70-year-old pistol. So I know the ergonomics of firearms have changed a lot. The slide lock is not very big, and this manual safety here is not original. It had to be added for importation reasons, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the garage. But I do have to say, the trigger is really nice for a single action pull. It is a really nice quality gun. I may have to pick up one of these. I know there's been a lot of these that have come into the country from various countries, and I don't know, I think if the price is right, I may have to get one. Really cool and very historical. Well, I'm going to put some more magazines down range, and then we're going to get back to the garage, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts.
All right, so I'm back here in the garage. I've had some time to take this gun apart and formulate my final thoughts. I have to say, while this gun is not the most modern and ergonomic feature-packed pistol I have ever shot, it definitely checks off a lot of the cool and historical boxes. I really like it. It feels very good in the hand. And man oh man, is the 7.62x25 a really powerful cartridge. I can see why the Russians adopted it. Holding this gun and looking at the bore, you don't think it's really going to be all that powerful. Maybe a 9mm plus P kind of feel. No, this thing packs a wallop. It's actually very comfortable to shoot, but you feel the concussion and you can tell the ballistics of that cartridge is screaming down range. The ergonomics are actually pretty good, and I like the way it looks. It looks so Soviet. It just looks industrial. Let me give you guys a couple of close-ups here of the pistol. There we go. I think it's in focus. It's beautiful. The bluing on this example is fantastic. I believe this is from 1953. I double-checked that stamp. I think Jack said it came from 1958. I do have to say the 3 and the 8, when it comes to their stamping, does look very similar, but the 8's a little bit more rounded on the top. So I believe this is from 1953. But either way, this is almost a 70-year-old pistol, and it's in excellent shape for what it is. The slide and the frame do have matching serial numbers. It kind of looks like, as I mentioned in the video, that John Browning went to the Soviet Union and designed their gun. You have the scallops here in the front. It looks very much like a 1911. Now internally, it's definitely not a 1911. It actually has a modular trigger pack and hammer pack in it. It's very interesting how it comes apart. It's very interesting from a mechanical standpoint. And this was the gun that replaced the Nagant rifles, I believe in the 1930s in the Soviet Army. It was a gun that served them for about 15 to 20 years before it was replaced by the Makarov, which I have not shot either. And although this had a very short run in the Russian military, that does not mean it is a poor quality pistol by any stretch of the imagination. It definitely feels high quality. It feels like the early AKs. While the Russians don't make anything with a lot of frills and ornaments to it, they definitely make well-built stuff. It was meant to go to war. It was meant to last. It feels beefy in the hands, even though it's very small. That's kind of what was a little bit deceptive when I shot it. I was not expecting the recoil. As I said, it feels like maybe a Browning high power or a thinner version of a Browning high power. I was kind of expecting that same type of recoil, and it packs a punch. Now, it would have been really cool if this gun could have held more rounds. I believe some magazines hold 9. This one holds 8. Now, the safety on this gun, I didn't know until I did a little bit of research, is not original. I guess there was no manual safeties on these guns. The only safety that would have ever come on this is a half cock on the hammer. So if you had chambered a round, you let the hammer down to the half cock position and that would deactivate the trigger. By today's safety standards, that is a no-go, and that is why the ATF requires some type of manual safety for these to be imported. And people have come up with different ways of adding the safety. This one has a very traditional thumb safety right here, so they have to drill into the frame. And whoever did this thumb safety, I think, did an exceptional job, because it looks like it's actually part of the design of the firearm. It kind of looks like it belongs there. There are a couple of other importers that put on, I guess we're going to call it the Glock dingus here, and it's easily removed. So it got in for importation reasons, but then once you own the gun, you can take that safety off. If you take this safety off, you still got a big hole in the frame. But if you have that trigger safety, or as I said, it's called the dingus by some people, you can actually remove that whole trigger and drop in an original trigger, and so you can have a Tokarev that functions identically to the way that they were originally designed. This was a design too that has been copied by many countries in the communist Soviet bloc. You have Chinese, Romanian, Hungarian, I believe there's Turkish ones, of course, Russian ones. That would be really cool to find a Russian Tokarev. When it comes to collecting Soviet era weapons, I really want to find the Russian ones. Those are the ones that I would be most interested in, and I'm sure those probably hold the most value as well. But this is a Romanian one. So it's definitely a comm block gun, and I would love to know the history of this. The factory that it was built in, maybe if it was issued to a soldier or a police officer, where it's been, what it's seen. That would be really, really cool. Now, being 1953, it is post-World War II, but who knows what conflicts this thing saw. That's just really, really cool. There's no markings on the slide of where it's made or the company that made it. It just has some serial numbers here, and of course the importation marks, which have to be put on the gun when they come into the United States, are marked here on the bottom of the slide. All of the controls of this gun are very minimalistic and very small. The button for the magazine catch is small. You can reach it. It's not too bad, but you definitely can tell it is not a modern magazine release. You kind of wish it was a little bit bigger. And the slide lock is a little bit weird. So when the gun is held open, if you want to drop the slide, it's actually really hard to do. I can't do it right now, but if I drop the magazine, if I barely touch that slide stop, it closes. So I don't know if that's part of the design of the gun or just the way that this particular slide stop has been worn in over the years. That would be something that I would have to get used to. But the thing I'm really impressed about this gun for being 70 years old is the single action pull. I gotta say, it's really, really nice for what it is, for a surplus gun. Let me come over here to the camera and I'll show you. I do have to say that this trigger and the shape of this trigger is very comfortable. So here is the trigger pull. It doesn't really have a lot of take up. The wall is very consistent and it breaks very easily. And then the reset is kind of short. That's it. The trigger is exceptional. I'm very impressed with that. So overall, this is a really cool piece of history and tells me that I may need to pick up one of these surplus Tokarevs. And I might be on the hunt for a real Russian one. I don't know how hard they are to find. I'm sure some people in the comment section can tell me that maybe it's a pipe dream to find a Russian one, but I would love to find one. But that is really, really awesome and really cool. It's just neat to have a piece of history, and I'm glad this one was able to escape from behind the Iron Curtain and make it here to the United States so we can enjoy it as a wonderful piece of history. It's interesting to get to shoot guns that were really designed to fight our nation and fight us capitalist pigs. But I can forgive this gun because the gun doesn't have a mind of its own, only its users. But the person that designed it and the people that wielded it, that were defending their country, we might disagree with them, but they're human beings nonetheless. So I can appreciate that, and the people that carry this were fighting for their nation. And that's something that I guess we can all say is honorable. So what a cool piece of history. It's really neat to get to shoot it. So thank you, Comrade Jack. It's been an absolute pleasure on this one. I didn't even know you owned this one until you pulled it out of the bag and said, hey, do you want to try this out? The answer is, of course, yes. Well, this thing is really awesome. So on my star system, how many stars would I give this? Well, it's kind of a hard one to do because it's not a modern gun. So if I give it a lot of high ranks, people are going to say, well, you gave it so many stars, that's better than this other polymer gun that you didn't like today. And there's no way this is better than that. Well, I'm going to say that I'm going to be a little bit biased on this one because I love historical guns. I love old guns. I think for what it is, as a surplus gun, and from the interest of a collector and average gun guy, I give this thing a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I wish the safety was different, and as my friend who I actually talked to tonight told me, there are some that are imported with a different trigger safety that can be removed. I may want to go that route, but it looks fantastic. It looks original to the design of the gun. So I don't think it detracts anything aesthetically from this gun at all. It's just really cool. So 4 out of 5 stars for what it is. It is really nice. I wish the sights could be a little bit bigger and a little bit more visible, but it shoots well, has good groups, and what's really awesome about it is how powerful that cartridge is. Man, the Tokarev TT pistol. There it is again. What a cool gun to have come through the Texas gun vault. Man, oh man. So there you go. Getting to shoot something really neat and historical. So the Tokarev, 4 out of 5 stars. All right, so let me know if you have any comments or questions in the comment section below. Do you guys own one of these surplus Tokarevs? What do you think? Do you like it as much as I do? All right, so as always, thanks for watching.